Okay, well, jeez. Welcome to Manga Palate, I guess, if this is what we're doing from now on till when we feel like stopping. I am Pasticie Luna, and this is my co-host.
I am Chef Isaiah, Manga Chef Isaiah.
I like that you forgot your own title.
I already fucked
It's fine. More importantly, I should probably say what this even is, which is I've found that relating stuff to food in general tends to be a good enough analogy. That probably has something to do with the fact that I use analogies for everything.
Yeah.
And in turn, we decided, hey, you know what's great? Harem anime. You know what else is great? Cake. Also, much like a lot of harem anime, not a lot there, but worth it. Not a lot of substance, but still great. And we realized this extended to anime in general, with more than just cakes and foods. And so we're gonna be doing this going forward. And thanks to our very, very, very gracious host, Manga Chef Isaiah, he decided to start with Dagashi Kashi.
Because it's a great anime.
Is it? That's what we're gonna talk about. We're doing.
It's a good anime.
I don't know, man.
If you could look past all the boring parts, which is
no. That's kind of my point. Okay. Starting from the top, Dagashi Kashi was a anime that premiered on January 8th, 2016, and ran up until April 1st. The four lead characters are Hotaru Shidare, who is like the daughter of a confectionery company, Kokonotsu Shikada, whose dad owns a candy shop, and it's like a whole thing. We'll get into that. Saya Endo, who is a girl who has a crush on Kokonotsu and works at a cafe nearby, and her older brother, To Endo. They're voiced by, where Hotaru Shidare is voiced by Taketatsu Ayane, who I think we both remember as Ayumi Takahara from Kami no Mizoshiro Sekai. But she's done a bunch of other shit. Like, she was Azusa in K-On! And that one girl, Koneko, from High School DxD, which I never watched, but it had 6 seasons, so I guess we can't ignore it. Yeah, she's in Petite Milady with Yuki Aoi now. By the way, they both did one of the episodes of Pop Team Epic, which that's a thing we'll have to talk about eventually. Anyway, Kokonotsu Shikada was voiced by Abe Atsushi. Atsushi Abe. He was Moritaka in Bakuman, and he's the lead from the Index and Railgun thing. You know, Toaru Kawaku Magical Index? That thing that we never watched, but it was around for all of our teenage years.
Yeah, I saw pictures of it.
Yeah, it's that thing we know as man will punch girl in face, but fuck if I actually know what it is. We'll have to do that eventually. But yeah, he was the lead in both of those series. So, like, clearly, he has weight to him, even if the only thing I know him from is this.
So yeah, they got some good voice actors.
Dude, okay, To, right? The old, Saya's older brother is Tatsuhisa Suzuki, who has done tons of things. I remember him as Yuji Sakamoto from Baka to Testo, but he also did stuff for, Kuroshi Tsuji, which all the Fujos love. And that wasn't gonna go away anytime soon. He's done a bunch of other stuff too. And last but not least, Saya Endo is voiced by Manami Numakura, who, I shit you not, I was like, I know that name. Why do I know that name? She's Hibiki from Idolmaster.
Oh.
And yeah, and even better than that, she's Ayame, the redheaded girl from Renai Bokun. So yeah, holy shit, I did know that name. I just wasn't sure why.
Oh my god.
Right? Okay, so like real people. Not like she did supporting work on Aikatsu 3 years ago. Like, no, like they've continued working.
So I'm guessing they put a lot of money into this.
I mean, if you read the manga, each chapter is like 13 pages. It's all really short. Like every episode is 4 or 5 chapters. Like it's a lot crammed into a little bit. Speaking of the show itself, the first episode, and this is probably just coming from what I know about anime, but normally the first episode of a show doesn't open with its opening. And that's how you know they could not find a way to wedge in a starting point. Like there was no long form narrative they were gonna go with. So instead they're like, nah, just pop in the opening. It doesn't matter because we've watched tons of other things where they need to like set things up first.
Yeah,
you know,
like an actual character.
Yeah, exactly.
Development.
But because of the way Dagashi Kashi is, hey, look at this cute girl talk on and on about Candy. There was nothing to go with, so I guess they just fucking said, you know what, just drop in the opening, fuck it, we'll figure it out.
Is really good.
Oh, Checkmate by MICHI, yeah, no, it's fucking great, dude. And the ending theme is just Taketatsu Ayana singing Calorie Queen. Which, I mean, she's done tons of idol work. That's why she's in Petite Milady and stuff. So I guess that makes sense. Alright, so episode 1. I mean, I feel like you could put it together in less than 5 sentences.
Sure. So,
go ahead.
Nothing really happened. They introduced characters.
I'm sorry. Something about starting this like, synopsis with, I don't know, nothing really happened. Says a lot about this fucking show.
So it starts with the guy like drawing manga or whatever, and doesn't look a lot like Haruto.
Hotaru, come on, man. Come on. You could call her by her last name, or you could call her the girl with the hairband. I don't know what you want to say, but like, yeah.
Okay.
And it does. Interestingly enough, in the manga, when he's drawing his manga, his looks really shitty compared to the one in the show. Like in the show, it looks a little more like a sort of a shoujo thing from the late 80s, like fucking Patricio or something. But like in the manga, they make it look really shitty because they're like, he has no chance of being a mangaka. He's just going for it anyway.
But yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, and you're right. The girl does look a lot like Hotaru.
So
and
how
I guess
is he drawing her when he doesn't even know her?
I think he's just drawing like what he thinks a pretty rich girl looks like, and then that just happened. She walks in through the door. He's like, that's pretty much how that goes.
Okay, that was weird. And then the dad is all like, "You should fix your bubble sheets or whatever."
Oh yeah, he was talking to him about how his manga looks kind of crappy.
Okay, and that was supposed to be a joke with them like. It's weird. They put a lot of money into it, but they did this weird back and forth thing.
Yeah, I think that the cutaways are weirder than that, but we need to get to Hotaru showing up before we can talk about the absurd amount of cutaways the show has.
I'm sorry, it's just... Okay. So, Ataru comes in and is like, yo, who's gonna own the candy shop after your dad leaves, or whatever.
No, that's not even it. She shows up and says, hey,
I don't care.
fuck you, you chose this. Don't you give me that? I don't really care. You're the one who said, let's start with Dagashi Kashi.
Because this is when we started, you know what?
Gonna be bad.
Okay.
She shows up, she says, hey, is this the shop? And he goes, yeah. And she goes, where's your dad? And he goes like, I don't know. Why do you want to talk to my dad? He's like, you know what? Fine, I'll give you a chance. He's like, a chance at what? And then they start doing the chat about candy.
Oh my god.
Which is the essence of this show. For those of you who don't know, Dagashi is like store-bought candy.
It's like a cooking anime, but with candy, and for like 2 sentences.
I wish it was, because like at least in cooking anime you could like say, hey, here, look, we'll throw you this recipe. Here's the thing you could actually do, you know? Like bartender or something. But this is just, you could go to your local Don Quixote and buy this.
Oh my god.
It's like,
and this is
like,
how it works.
Oh, it's amazing.
And they talk about the wrapping a lot too.
Well, I mean, there's so much that goes into candy. Fuck you.
We should keep going down the characters, right? Alright.
Right. So, then they have the little talk about candy, and then when the dad shows up, they do the stupid, like, it's supposed to be a joke. I know that. I didn't laugh. I feel weird about not laughing at all these jokes. There's a lot of Gundam references where they, like, show candy boxes
that was the whole first episode.
Yeah, it's like a candy box
anime.
with like it's supposed to be Zaku's, and they're fighting off against the RX-78. That is the Umaibo, and it's like, I don't, fuck, is this what's happening? And it's like, yeah, don't you love it?
You get it.
You get it. You get it. Do I understand anything I
mean, you
don't
got
know.
the jokes. You just didn't think they were funny, like I did.
But yeah, I guess you're right. I understood what they meant. I just didn't laugh. But
That's
that's what
most of the
feels
show.
weird to me, because they make so many. I should laugh at least one of them, but I didn't.
It's okay. They tried.
Is it?
I mean,
I don't know if it's okay, because the show was 12 episodes, right? We only stomached 4, and that says a lot. And I had to push myself for that 4th episode. Like, I barely got through it. Ah.
I forgot to say in the beginning, Toe called and was like, "Hey, you want to go to the beach? There's a bunch of girls at the beach," and that's all of Toe basically.
Yeah, actually, worth mentioning, again, slight difference. In the manga, he's just staring at chicks at the beach out of his window.
Oh my god.
There's no, like, setup for, like, Toe doing it and kind of like, yeah, I'm really into girls. Instead, it's more like, this is boring. It's summer. It's nice outside. And then there's, like, 2 girls playing, and he's watching as dad shows up next to him. He goes, like, nice, right? And he's like, huh? And, like, that's pretty much it. And I was like, oh, okay. Alright.
I guess I'm not sure why they changed that. I guess
I
don't care.
I guess they wanted to push the brother more. I mean, if you're gonna get Suzuki Tatsuhisa, you better use him, is what I'm saying. Because, like, Toe's in pretty much every episode that we watched. I can't even say the whole show. We didn't watch the whole show. God, I couldn't. I tried.
If you look
Yeah.
at your funny way,
Go on.
like comedical way, it kind of works.
Yeah. You got the softer guy and then the more carnivore guy, and they play off each other. I get the dynamic. I wish I liked it. It's not the first time we've seen this dynamic. It just didn't click with me here, whereas it's clicked with me in other places. Okay, right. So they have the whole Gundam thing about Candy, and then she says, "Oh yeah, my dad wanted to hire you for a candy company, but you said no." And you explain why, and he goes, "I don't see. Here's the thing. My father owned this shop, and I inherited this shop, and I won't be comfortable till I can leave it with my son. And he wants to be a mangaka, so
Oh, that's it. Okay.
yeah. How did you forget?
I don't
Watched
know.
it this week.
I
watched it today.
It was too
That's
boring
right.
to remember. Is that it?
Too dumb? Is
Yeah.
that? Wow. Fantastic.
It was
This is
like-
why I take notes. Because you will forget.
I took notes on it. I just didn't just write it because it wasn't interesting.
Yeah, and then that's the rest of the show, is Hotaru trying to convince Kokonotsu that, hey, candy is really important.
No.
There's
Forgot what
a
Sai
thing in
showed
it
up.
for you. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, that's the whole sort of ethos of the show.
Oh yeah.
Is it's
yeah, right.
Hotaru going up to Kokonotsu and saying, hey, look at this candy. Isn't candy great? Shouldn't you get in on candy?
He
And he's like,
knows
"I
a
don't-"
lot about candy already too.
I feel that that's because he was raised in a candy shop. Like,
But
you
I
have
mean,
to know things.
yeah, he should take care of it because he's the only one that knows about candy besides Otaru, whatever.
Yeah,
I didn't forget her name.
I like that you forget her name.
So Otaru was biking on whatever, and she fell in the mud.
Was that no? I think that was the next episode.
No, that was
That was the next one
no, that was
because
the first one still.
no, was it?
Yeah,
I
because the second
have it
episode
written
is
here as the
about-
second one because what happens is when is that Kokonotsu goes to the cafe and sees Saya, and that's when they have the thing where To's like, "Oh, you met a girl? Was she hot?" And he's like, "I guess she's cute." He goes like, "Oh shit, I never heard you talking about girls like that." And then like Saya gets really pissed and does the coffee thing, which is one of the only things I ever knew about Dagashi Kashi, that coffee scene, where she's just pouring a shit ton of coffee in the cup, and like one of the only things I ever knew about that show. That scene.
But I'm
Yeah,
pretty
that's-
sure she fell in the mud in that one, and then she goes to Saya's house.
Mm.
That's where it ended.
I do remember that. Well, like, but see, that's what I mean. Like, all of this runs together in my head
Yeah,
because
it's just
it's all so nothing.
you might be right. It might be episode 2 that one.
I feel like that's the second episode because the first one wraps up, oh, she didn't meet Hotaru, and then second episode, oh shit, she met Hotaru, but doesn't know that that's the girl Kokonotsu was talking about. And then the third one, they all hang out together and play fucking Menko, Which, by the way, can I just say this? I played Manko as a kid probably because I was poor, but the rest of the world did not forget about Manko. They just called it something different. In fact, in America, it was still pretty big back in the 90s and shit. It was called Pogs.
You're talking about the card game, right?
Yeah. Oh, so like, right, I'm saying that like everyone knows Manko. Essentially, you have like a bunch of cards, and everyone puts a card on the ground, and then you try to hit it at an angle so that the card flips over. And when the card flips over, you win it. And in America, they were called Pogs, and there was like little circles, but the same idea is still the same. As a matter of fact, that month I was in Peru when I was way younger, I told you about that. Like, if you ate a bag of chips, guess what was the prize inside of the bag of chips? A fucking Pog. Because kids were still playing Pogs. And this was like the mid-2000s. I'm just saying. When Saya's like, the fuck is Manko? And then Hotaru goes, are you from the generation that doesn't know what this is? That kind of surprised me. Because, like, I played that when I was a kid. But then part of me is thinking, maybe that's because I was poor. Like, I played anything to entertain myself.
He also had that really old console.
I also had a bunch of really old consoles. By the way, we're the same age. I know so much more about old shit than he does. And this is just bizarre.
We're talking about this. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. Because, you know, it's part of... It's what that episode is about, Manko. And, like, I grew up playing that, so when she says, you don't know what Manko is, I'm also surprised. I'm like, what? Do people forget what this is already?
You forgot to talk about the worst part of that part. See,
What's
episode
that?
2?
What's
where they
that?
talk about the story of the donut with the whistle hole. The
Oh!
candy with the whistle hole.
No, Fueramune. See, that's another thing I ate when I was a kid. Fueramune is like this little candy. It's like a lifesaver, except when you blow through it, it whistles. And you're right. There's the classic cutaway that I was talking about before, where it was like, fuck, and then we cut to a world where Ramune is like in, like bottles of Ramune. It's like a soda. Bottles of Ramune are like dressed up in school uniforms, and there's a whistle candy also with a face going like, all I can do is this, and then other like pieces of candy dressed as girls going like, oh, look at him, he's so sad. Like, I don't get
It was
cut.
for like 10 minutes too.
It was a good like 8-10 minutes. You're not even wrong. I know it's supposed to be like, oh, hey, look at this wacky scenario. I don't know, I didn't laugh. I understood what was happening, but I just didn't laugh. I'm laughing now at how ridiculous I sound going, yes, this is comedy, and then not
They
laughing.
can't whistle.
Like, yeah.
Oh, no.
Like, sitting there and just going like, yes, comedy, and then writing down on a piece of paper, okay, weird candy joke, and then like that's it, because I didn't laugh. The fucking
I think the most entertaining part was when the beginning where they got drunk off of non-alcoholic.
right, Hotaru. No,
It was
because
just
they
Hotaru.
did.
Yeah,
Just Hotaru.
just Hotaru.
Because she's like, hey, I have this candy where if you put it with water, it makes a drink that looks like beer. And it's like, yeah, it's supposed to make you feel like an adult. And she describes like a sort of oddly specific childhood thing of like, you ever go to a party where it's like almost all adults and you're the only kid and you see everyone drinking beer and you're drinking juice and you're like, man, I wish I was an adult. Now we can be adults with this beer candy, and it's like I don't know if I've ever felt that, but okay. Yeah, and she starts drinking it, but she starts acting drunk, which is bizarre because it's just water. It's fizzy, bitter water. It's not alcoholic.
Oh man, that hits the song. Okay.
Yeah, no, my favorite was I'm gonna drown my sorrows now, and it's like, what are you talking about? It's fizzy water. It's not beer. You're inebriating yourself to get away from pain. What is happening? What is actually happening? And it's like, no, shut up.
That was the best part though.
I guess I would say like that was the closest thing to entertaining for that episode.
Was 4 with the really long candy breads? I think so.
You mean the one where she keeps talking about eating the candy, getting the dust?
No, she was blind, and
Yeah. Okay,
That's
that was
identified.
4. That was weird.
oh wait, I skipped 3. Fuck.
Did you only watch 3 episodes and you
No,
told me
I
going?
watched 3.
You just can't remember it because you didn't take
No,
any
they
notes.
went to the pool and
Yeah, they went to the pool.
Because they broke the AC and...
They didn't break the AC. Hotaru explicitly turned it off.
She broke it.
I mean, yeah, but that was after making them drink ramen in heat with the boiler in the room.
Oh yeah, I don't.
It's like, oh man, it's a really hot day. She walks on it. Hey, Hotaru-san, how's it going? She sees the AC on.
Why did they do that?
And turns it off.
I
Wait.
don't get why they did that.
Why they did what? What's
Eating
the
ramen
specific...
in the heat?
Well, no, I think that's just because she's a weirdo. Well, okay, so I think it's one of those things where it's like, hey, if you're hot, you should eat a hot thing so you sweat and then you're cool. But, like, I don't actually know, because she said something about building your endurance. And I was like, is that what's going on? Oh, wait, as a matter of fact, speaking of the eating the ramen thing, Toll carries in the fucking heater, and then he goes like, oh, you met Hotaru-san? He's like, yeah, and then he goes back to how he met her, which was catching her just getting out of the shower at his house.
Oh, we forgot to mention the fan service, but I think that's okay.
I mean, it's not super prevalent in the first couple of episodes.
I thought it didn't matter to the story.
I mean, it didn't. That's probably why some people would watch it, though. Like, it's something, you know?
That's about it, literally.
I'm just saying, like, there's a couple, but it's not as much as some other things, you know? Like, it's not drowning in it like fucking Tudabitu.
Or High School DX.
High School DxD, perfect example. Another show I'd watch for shit, but I know for a fact it's nothing but like every other page is a panty shot. I think, if anything, the weird bondage stuff from the 4th episode is the closest thing, and it like went on for a while.
Also, the getting drunk was kind of fan servicey.
I don't know. I don't put that anywhere near as much as like the pool or the tying up stuff, because that one seemed to be like really, really overt.
Did anything happen in the pool?
Well, the dad and Hotaru had a plan to show that Kokonotsu knows way too much about candy by having them dive for candy sticks, which worked, I guess. But then they see a sign that says
no eating,
can't eat, and then she goes, "Oh no!" And like that's the end of that.
Yep.
Fucking God, what a bizarre show! Not show. I don't even know what to call this.
It's like a slice of life, but their life is so nothing.
No, because then you can say like, no, because there's like hard slice of life, like Non Non Biori, where it's just girls living in the countryside. But I enjoyed that. I didn't like really enjoy this. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we'll go over.
I bet they have more like character development too.
I mean, there's like 5 girls, and they're all really different from each other, and it's mostly just them playing off of each other. And it's fun. Like, I like it. It's breezy. It's one of the girls moved back from the big city and moved into the country, and that's sort of where most of it plays out.
Yeah.
Oh,
this show is like Hotaru's like, yo, the dad. They're basically the same character, except that the dad is a little bit more like passive aggressive.
Yeah, I like that the dad went out of his way to shit on his manga. Oh, right. One more thing about the 4th episode that I forgot. The way it ends, because it's sort of like 3 segments, which is more or less 4 or 5 chapters of the manga wrapped into an episode. And like the last one that we watched, the 4th episode, had the thing where To and Kokonotsu were sitting at the table, and they were talking about the 2 girls. And he was like, I mean, you know, one of them has something that's much more important. He was like, what? And then he draws, and it has like a picture of Saya and a picture of Hotaru, which I guess is supposed to look frighteningly realistic because it looks like them really well. But he says, but he circles their boobs, and he just goes, no breasts, Saya. Big breasts, Hotaru. He's like, see? And he's like, and Kokonotsu just responds with, is that all that important?
Oh my god.
And then he leaves, forgetting the notebook there. Yeah, he leaves, forgetting the notebook there, runs into Hotaru, says, and then he goes, oh shit, I really need to get back to the cafe. And she goes, you know what's great? for energy and pulls out a fucking piece of candy because nothing can ever stop relating to candy in the show. I mean, that's the whole gimmick. I know. I wish I liked the gimmick more.
They also showed how far the cafe was from the candy shop.
Yeah, yeah.
The first time in the show, fourth episode.
I guess they're giving you like a, because I mean, you only really need them as set pieces, and in this case, it's trying to give you an idea of like, it's a small town, but there's like, shit's pretty spread out as a result because it's kind of rural. But yeah, and then he just runs, but he gets there too late, and Saya's already looking at the picture.
So there's no point to those 10 minutes. Literally no point.
I mean, I guess the point is just to showcase the candy and how Hotada relates everything to candy again. But
yeah, I guess, since that's the whole show is usually like candy's amazing, guys.
Pretty much the whole show. I didn't know if the manga was all that popular because damn, it got a show, you know? Like that doesn't just come and go by pretty easy. There's a whole lot of time of like polls and checking reader subscriptions and votes and shit like that goes into like figuring out what's most likely to sell, you know?
I mean, we don't like it. I guess everybody else likes it.
But that's my question: was it ever big? I understand that there's a lot of merch and stuff for it, and I forgot to talk about like fan created shit. There's tons of stuff, but like for what it is, I just don't really get it. It seems to be, or at least from my understanding from talking to other people who've watched it mostly watched it because the girls are cute. And I understand that, but like, and I mean, we've done that. That's why we mostly watch harem anime. But like, sometimes, like, looks aren't enough to keep me interested. Like, there's got to be something more going on. Like, cute doesn't come from just design. You get what I'm saying? Because Hotaru is drawn to be adorable, but fuck, when she just goes on about candy, I'm like, all right. And then like, that's the only thing she does. I'm like, oh, okay.
Maybe it was just cute enough. That everyone is like, what is this manga about? And it like increased the polls.
I guess maybe there was tons of readership that I just didn't know about. The early chapters look really kind of rough, like he did them kind of rushed. I like it. It's pretty amateur looking, and then the later stuff looks more like what you see in the anime, where it's all more touched up, more rounded, and stuff. But
do you want to talk about the backgrounds? Because those are amazing. Like the setting.
Yeah. I'll say this: the background music is really strong. Like the beginning part, the first episode, it has this like banjo being offset with like gentle chords on a piano that I like really liked. And I was like, that's so nice. I wonder who you got to work on that. Because, you know, you always have to have, like, a composer for background music. And it was like, that's really good. Maybe
the same person works on Calorie Queen.
Would it be? I don't know.
And that's I guess they made Calorie Queen for the show, right?
Oh, yeah. They always do stuff like that. I mean, we've talked about this. I guess we should do it on the show if we're going to have a show, for fuck's sake. But, like, they have whenever they make a show, they always make sure to make a single for the ending and a single for the opening. Either they get a real band or they just get like one of the voice actresses to sing over a song that's composed, and it's, you know, sold as merch because shows, anime in particular is so dependent on getting like a tight fan base, and like, you know, like it's less about, oh, we'll last for forever, and it's more like if we can get like 20 people to just buy all of this shit, this will have been worth it. And harem anime are like the worst at that because it's like, are there 7 girls? Well, guess what? Each one of those girls gets their own character single. Each one of those singles is like $15, $16. So it'll just fucking blow you away after a certain point.
I guess we should start saying what we described the food.
Oh yeah, hold on. I just looked up the guy who worked on the soundtrack.
Uh-huh.
Right? So his name is Yashikin, and he actually has done not as much work as I would have expected for what it was. So he did the 11th and 12th ending theme for Oreimo, which we all know Oreimo was never gonna die. He did the music for Hajimete no Hyaru. That's cool.
Oh, really?
You remember how you like Gochumon wa Usagi desu ka? The thing about the girls working in the cafe?
Not right now. No.
No poi or something like poi te kyama da.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. He wrote that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he also worked on a shit ton of Tekyu, which man, I like Tekyu. Tekyu's really strong in certain ways.
I
And
guess
he
he's
also
really good with the bass.
Yeah,
likes the
he's not, but that's what I mean. Like, that's kind of it, though. Like, he hasn't done much beyond that. And I was like, oh, I'm actually pretty surprised that he hasn't worked too far out. And then he did most of the music for the theme songs. And then character designs a bunch of other people. Nobusawa Naoki did the regular music for the show. He did Dagashi Kashi, the second season, and he did Koito Uso. Okay. Alright, now if we're gonna compare it to food, which is the essence of our show, holy shit, this is rough. Cause it's like, it's a thing you could eat, but it's not even sweet. Like, there's not much to it. It looks nicer than it tastes, you know?
Dang. I had a candy, but now I want to revise it.
You have a candy?
I had a Milk Duds.
Milk Duds. Explain.
You start eating it, and you're like, alright, this is kind of sweet. And then we were up to like the third or fourth one. It's like, oh, I don't want to eat this anymore. It's kind of.
That's such an interesting analogy. Especially because you watched like 4 episodes, and then you're like, you know what? I think I'm good. I think I don't need to go any further than this.
Nope.
Oh man, that's funny. I'm trying to think of something that's like, you can eat it, and it looks a lot nicer than it tastes, and overall it tastes pretty bland. Food-wise. That's tricky. Something that looks good, but doesn't taste all that great as a result.
What was that Mike and Ike candy you didn't like?
Right. That's when we were talking off the show, which was I was saying, man, you know what fucking is weird? Good and Plenty, because it's the version of the Mike and Ike's when I don't like the regular Mike and Ike's to begin with. So it's like it's not even super colorful though. Like there's no aesthetic to a Good and Plenty. Watching the show, it does look nice. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
I just, and there's nothing on beyond that.
Maybe like a Easter bunny, like a.
I mean, like a chocolate rabbit.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I like chocolate to begin with. It's gotta be something that looks nicer than it. You know what?
What?
York peppermint patties. I never liked the chocolate mint combo, but it looks so nice. And then I take a bite and I'm like, this outside and this inside didn't go together in the way that I wanted it to be. And it reminds me a lot of the show, where the outside, the look, the aesthetic, the character designs, it's really fun. You're right, the backgrounds are like really pretty in some spots, the way they establish the shots. But then the actual content of the show is not anything I wanted or cared about.
You're right.
So yeah, I'll go with York peppermint patty.
That's strong.
How do you feel about that?
I agree with that.
You're gonna go with that? All
When
right.
you open it up, it looks creamy and like, it does look pretty good.
It looks like this is gonna be great, and then I take a bite. I'm like, this isn't what I wanted at all.
Nope. I guess that pretty much sums up.
I guess that's pretty much all we got. Because what even was this show?
You guys get it.
You get it. Come on, you get it. Oh, one more thing. Can I just say, there was a part where she said, we're gonna be rivals. And then I was like in the first episode, and then like as it goes on, I'm like, I don't understand what your concept of rivalry is. Are you just trying to bait him into doing it now? Like, did you completely forget about the rivalry thing? I guess that was before the talk about him succeeding the shop, but like, this is weird. I don't understand what dynamics
she
are
brought it
going
up in
on.
another episode.
She did? Yeah, I
And
can't. I don't know.
the third one, she
Yeah.
was like,
Okay.
"Oh, I gotta make sure my rival." I don't know.
Yeah,
care.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't
I
care.
don't want any more of this.
Oh man. Okay. Well, you get it.
You guys
You
get
get it. You guys get it. If you didn't get it, why would you keep listening to this? All right. Well, that's Manga Palette for today.
I am
God.
Manga Chef Isaiah.
And I am Pastissier Luna, and thank you for joining us. You get it.